Welcome to the My Gift Podcast with your host, Mark Mitchell.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 6 of My Gift podcast series. This has been an exciting series of weeks, having incredible guests on. I hope you've been enjoying those. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to have on Reverend Andrew Beard from Highland Park United Methodist Church. Through my journey as a member of Highland Park United Methodist Church, it has been fascinating to discover the many gifts of ministry, both locally, nationally, and globally through the church. So I'm thrilled that Reverend Beard has time today to come and do this podcast. So Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, why don't we start by just maybe sharing a little bit about yourself for the audience, who you are, what you do, and bring that to life for us.
Yeah. So you already said my name, Andrew Beard, so we got that out there. I am a pastor at Highland Park United Methodist Church. I've been there for about 9 years. Currently, I'm an associate pastor, and I'm also the director of our college ministry, which we call Wesley House. And I've been in that position for about 6 years.
So I've loved the journey as I've been a member, not quite 6 years, but the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, as we get started, before we dive into Wesley House and the college ministries, some of the broader work that Highland Park United Methodist Church is doing through mission.
Yeah. One of the things that our church is really built on is the idea of going, helping, and serving to bring help and hope both locally and around the world. So we are a church that's truly invested in that. We do mission work all over the world, from Africa. We do work in Haiti with an eye clinic. We do work down in Costa Rica with children's homes. We're partnering with local churches. We also do a lot of work here in Dallas with Habitat for Humanity and other local partners. One of the things that our church really realized, and I think this is really wise, is sometimes you don't have to actually be the expert in being able to do those things, but you partner with the experts and you be able to become much more effective. So that's one of the things our church has really done over the last decades, and really it's been transformative to not only locally but around the world.
No, I love the way you said transformative, because a few weeks ago, I was fortunate to go out and be part of one of the current builds.
Yeah. Swinging a hammer.
Swinging a hammer.
Yeah, it's good.
I love doing that because lots of times, a lot of the SMU students, fraternities, and sororities are out there. It's a chance to connect with young people. But I also think, if I remember the math right, we're building right now houses 117 and 118.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible what's going on in South Dallas with these homes.
Yeah, we committed, I can't remember how many years ago it was now, to build 100 homes. And we've obviously passed that, and we're still going. And it's been awesome because, we help make these things happen, but we bring in lots of people to be able to serve and work together. And honestly, people that wouldn't necessarily find themselves out on a job site together. Mm-hmm. So it isn't just transformational for that community that it's in, but also for the people that are going to serve. And I don't know if this was the case when you were there, but pretty much every weekend, the homeowner is there as well, putting in some sweat equity into their property, which just makes the whole thing just a better experience for everyone.
No, I think that's right. I think it was last spring on our previous build, 112, 113, whatever, where I was paired up in the afternoon with the actual homeowner, the male, and we spent the afternoon building cabinets and things in a bathroom or whatever, and it's like, it's real because he is going to live here with his family.
Yeah, that is going to be his home. Yeah. I feel like that's a pretty sobering reminder of like how important this is.
It is.
Because you're helping provide something for someone that they may not be able to have without this situation. And so to be able to be just a part of that is such an honor and a privilege. So
yeah, I think that's great because as I listen to you and I get to experience church on a weekly basis, the global reach of a local church, the local impact of a local church, right? I think even the cafe in the church right now is positioning people with job skills.
Yeah. We try to find places to be able to help serve people. In fact, across the street, we opened up the Chances pie and coffee shop, and we are helping local people in our community with disabilities to be able to learn how to serve and do those sorts of things. And it's been an incredible opportunity to get to see those people and interact with those people. So if you, Mark, if you haven't been over there, you can go there in the morning time before noon and get a slice of pie or a cup of coffee, and it's a great opportunity to help that community as well. So
it's been on my to-do list. That's
well, okay.
Reminder, so thank you.
All right, it's out there now. You know.
Yep. So let's take that, because as a parent, as a father of two college-age girls, I love the journey that you've been on, because I think in this day and age, I remember back in my journey, I grew up going to church because my parents made me.
Yeah.
And when I got to college, I started going because something just felt right about it. But I think millennials, Gen X, this whole world, how do you sell religion and the Bible and church and faith to college students? Because you're doing amazing work in that space.
Well, thank you. How do you sell this to them? Well, first you got to identify part of the problem. When you start looking at the statistics, we're seeing people drop out of church in record numbers that we've never seen before. And that isn't just our local church, but nationwide, we're seeing that across the board. And then we're also seeing that if most people haven't committed to the faith before they head off to college, the chances that they're going to commit to faith in college are just plummet even more. Mm-hmm. So it used to be that maybe you grew up in the church, you were part of the church community, you go to college, maybe you engage, maybe you don't, but then you get married and you have kids, and it's a natural, returning back to the place that you grew up loving, caring about. Well, that's also not the case anymore. People do not return back to church to get married. They do not come back to church when they have kids. And so I just really believe this is kind of our last real chance to catch people and to have an impact on people before they head in the rest of their life. So one of the things that we realized is if we wanted to reach college-age people, we had to understand what were the struggles that college students are struggling with. So at SMU, one of the number one things that they struggle with is homesickness. And homesickness is one of the number one reasons that they end up leaving college. Now, how they become homesick means they may not like their roommate. They may not get the fraternity or sorority they wanted. They may be struggling in classes. It may be their first time they've ever been away from mom and dad for any significant length of time. So they're homesick, and then it causes them to have all sorts of additional problems. They start disconnecting. They start having more depression and anxiety. They just struggle in all sorts of areas of life, and many times they end up dropping out and going home. So we realized if we could actually provide a place, an actual physical place that looked and felt like a home to them, then we have the ability to speak into their life because their basic needs are covered. You know, that whole Maslow's hierarchy of what people need. Like, listen, they have shelter, they have food, they have, people that are checking in on them, but to have an actual home to go to would allow us to speak to them in a way that we wouldn't have if we didn't have that. So half of our struggle, half of the sales of trying to get them to know Jesus is already taken care of for us when we created this building.
No, that's fantastic. I love the way you characterized making the connection. One of my previous guests on this was the president of Junior Achievement of Dallas.
Yeah.
And for them, they're trying to make that connection at grade 5, 6, and 7, because students at that age without a role model or an aspiration are thinking about dropping out of school already, right? Yeah. So we all go through different junctures in our life. It's dropping out of school, staying in, it's college, it's church, and I love the way that you frame that up.
Yeah.
I also heard you say something about the home, so not just the church, but you actually have a real home, a real house, right?
Yeah. So on the north side of SMU's campus on Daniel, we have a physical building that was built in the 1930s. It was like a rundown place. It was a multifamily dwelling, upstairs, downstairs unit. The Baptist Student Union owned it sometime in the 90s. The Methodist bought it sometime in the early 2000s. And several years ago, my wife and I, who's working this effort together, said, listen, what if we took this building and we brought it up to date? We made it feel like a new and exciting space that felt like a home, not some rundown place. I mean, we didn't have heat or air. It was always 15 degrees in the wrong direction. It was not a place that you would want to necessarily go to and hang out. And so we said, let's renovate this and provide that kind of space for them. So we actually have a video if we want to.
I'd love to.
Okay. Yeah.
So why don't we just pause for a second?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's watch this video of the transformation of Wesley House.
What we have here is a house built in 1931 as a multifamily dwelling. It was 2 units, an upstairs and a downstairs. Then in 2004, the Methodists purchased this to have it be the Wesley Foundation. Then in 2017, it became the ministry of Highland Park United Methodist Church.
We are serving the campus, but we're also serving the community and we're a part of the local church.
We're going to combine those two and make this a place that looks and feels like a home, that does incredible ministry to college-age people. This is the front door, which is, kind of off to the side.
Yeah, so when people walk up, instead of coming in this way, we're going to go in right here, so people will be able to see that there's actually life inside the building.
This is going to be a living room area, and we're going to open up these walls so they can actually see all the way back to the backyard. Let's take you upstairs. It's kind of broken up oddly. After the renovation, this space is going to be open to be able to do large group Bible studies where everyone can see each other.
We're really, really excited about what we're doing here. And it is so much more than just a facelift, right? It's so much about, it's about the guts of what we're about. So yeah, we're really excited. Over the last year, we've been working really hard to make this place come to life. It has gone from an idea and vision to reality. We have finished the project and it is unbelievable. One of the biggest changes that we made in this space was to the entrance. We made it to where it's accessible to everyone, and they're bigger and there's big windows in them, so when people walk up, they can see inside and see the life that exists inside the house. When students used to walk in the front door, they walked into a space that was dark and it was just a pass-through. And now when they walk through the front door, they're invited into the heart of the home, right into the kitchen to be at the community table.
When you walk into the upstairs space, it's no longer disjointed and divided. When we used to gather for Bible study, you couldn't even see one another. Now we open the space up so we can all gather together and see one another. As we have crossed the finish line of this renovation, in some ways we feel like we've finished this, but in other ways it feels like a whole new race has begun.
I am really excited to see the visions come to fruition for this space, and now I'm excited to see what happens next in the lives of the students as they come into it.
The church made a serious investment in this and in the life of these college students. We believe this is only going to change their lives, change the trajectory of their lives, and honestly change the community of Dallas and beyond.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that. It's been an amazing journey to me to watch Andrew and his wife, Sarah. So just talk more about Sarah, because I know that she's been a big part of this ministry
Yes.
and your partnership in this journey as well, right?
Yeah, she's incredible. I often say, like, my wife is the kind of person that when they meet me, people are always like, oh, but you really need to meet his wife. She's the real deal. And I actually asked one time, I said, Sarah, when people are introducing you, do they say, you need to meet his husband, her husband? I don't think that's ever happened. But anyway, yes, my wife's incredible. So we actually met in college in a campus ministry. I was the student leader of it. And we connected, and we started leading music together, worship for worship services. And when we got married, we had this very real kind of thought of, we are called to do ministry together, and we are going to be better doing this ministry together than we will be apart. And so for the last 15 years, that's what we've been doing. We first started off volunteering in college ministry and worship leading. We then jumped into youth ministry, and we did that together for 5 years. Then we moved down here and still did some youth ministry together, and then moved into doing this college thing together. And honestly, I cannot imagine doing this ministry without her, because we are very different and very similar, and we balance each other out in all the right ways. In fact, when we did this renovation, as you noticed in the video, we're like working together, picking out these things, trying to give the vision of how this will work. And we've become like this mom and dad for so many of these college students, which, with many of them also coming from, homes that may be broken, or maybe families that are struggling, to get to see a mom and a dad that work together, that serve together. I think it gives them some inspiration of what they might want someday. And so it's a joy and an honor to get to work together in that.
No, I love that, because so many of our people are impressionable, right? If you can make the right impressions at the right age. And by the way, just for clarity, my wife, Gina, also is the person that everybody wants to get to know.
Right.
I'm just the tag along.
I know. It's miserable. We need a group of us, Listen, if you're married to an awesome woman club, that's what we can do.
That's exactly right, because I was sharing with you before we sat down here that she is now at country 189. There's only 193 countries in the world. So when I talk about my story, they're like, but she's been to every country in the world. So I feel that pain, so to speak. Well, talk more about the house, because that connection.
Yeah.
What goes on at Wesley House that brings this to life, that builds that connection that you're striving to do?
Yeah. So we created a space that we wanted when people walked in. It didn't matter what burdens or struggles, what fraternity or sorority they were part of, what student organization, that they could go in and feel loved and cared for. You know, one of the common things that people talk about now is like young people want safe spaces, and we created that safe space. So if you look across the room, you see a bunch of college students hanging out. They're studying, they're working on projects, they're laughing, they're drinking coffee together, whatever. But like you start to actually have conversations with each of those people, and they are all across the spectrum, politically, socially, their experience, their majors, all of these different things. But they find a safe place to call home in college, which is the Wesley House, and they do it under this banner of Jesus. And that's one of the things that we get so excited about, is that in a world and a country, and I mean, we're so divided, to have a place where so many people can unite together is really a beautiful thing. And it's different than almost any place else in the world.
No, that's fascinating. So it's a safe place to come, to have coffee, to interact.
Yeah.
Are there events? Are there evening prayer groups? Or are there what kind of events?
Yeah. All sorts of stuff. So the house is open. So nobody lives there. Everyone always asks if we live there. I'm like, I do need to go home every once in a while. So this is not my home. I know it's very confusing.
Fair enough.
So it's open, we open about 9-ish every morning. And then it's open till almost midnight, almost every night. It's the kind of place that you can go in. We have a whole snack wall that's like, all the snacks you could ever want, and everything's free. And the reason why everything's free is because if you had me over to your house, Mark, and you said, hey, do you want a brownie? And I was like, sure. You wouldn't then say, oh, it'll be $2. Like nobody's going to do that. And then I also wouldn't feel welcome. So I love coffee houses. I love all those things, but we wanted a place that didn't feel like a coffee house. It felt like home. And so we get incredible donors and sponsors that help offset our candy and our snacks and coffee and all of those things, so our students can enjoy those together. So that's open all the time. We do different, we have Bible studies that meet at the house at different times during the week. We do nights of worship about once a month in the house, where we move out all the furniture and it's just people playing guitar and singing songs together. We do crepe nights, it's like a pancake night, but it's like a study break, prepping for finals. We do all sorts of watch parties, from Super Bowl watch parties to whatever award show or other things that are going on that people want to get together. Game nights, movie nights, everything. So it's really a place that when students think, okay, I have the opportunity to go to the party, but I know that that's not necessarily where I want to go. This is that opportunity to say, actually, I have another option. And I think for students, when you give them another option that's actually a better option, it's gonna be better for them long term. And too many of them have been fed the line that, listen, you go to college and it's your time to go crazy. It's your 4 years, like best years of your life. Just do whatever. But they need to remember, and this is the thing that I try to help them understand, that like those 4 years go with you. They aren't just something that you walk across the stage, you get a diploma, and like your last 4 years erase or disappear. And so for us, we want to help them to have 4 years that they can look back on and say, those 4 years defined me in a way that's going to cause me to go and change the world.
No, I think that's a incredibly relevant conversation, because I think back, and I went to church in college because it felt right.
Yeah.
I went to my school, and after 4 years at Purdue University, I didn't just stop. I continue to be a donor. I continue to go back and speak. I've written articles. So it's a connection that if you make the right connection, it becomes it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah. So for us too, we think the house is great, and the house is so important to the ministry we do. In fact, it's really our keystone of who we are as a ministry. But for us, we don't ever want it to stay with the house. That's why we are unapologetic in connecting our students back to the church, HPMC, that's on campus. Because we really believe that if you want people to be lifelong followers of Jesus, the greatest chance that you have is for them to be connected into the local church, where 40-something% of these students that graduate from SMU are going to end up staying in the Metroplex. It's so vital for us to say, okay, you are going to be here. You're not just from California or Connecticut. You're going to go here and disappear, but you're actually going to be part of this community. And so I want to connect you to the local church, because when you're in worship with other people that are different than you and different ages than you and younger and older, like, you start to realize what the body of Christ really looks like. It's diverse, it's vast, it's huge. And the greatest way for you to continue to follow Jesus is being connected with those people who are different than you. So we connect them to the church. And honestly, it's one of those things that we think that it isn't just going to be a good investment for HPMC, but it's actually investment for like the kingdom and churches worldwide. Because we believe that if you know how important the local church is, it doesn't matter where you end up. You're going to go look for that local church, and that's good for all of us.
I do think that the greatest hope for our world, for our country, right here in Dallas, is found in the local church. That's my belief. I believe that passionately. That's why I'm there regularly.
Yeah.
I split my time between traditional, but also the praise worship. I love the upbeat praise worship. And I notice when I go to the praise worship, the young people presence is significant, like really significant. Yeah. And it's more than just families. I can tell that there are college-age students in singles and pairs and with their families as well. It's a pleasure. It's great to see.
Yeah, we actually worked really hard to get college students, because you wouldn't think this, but crossing the threshold into a church, if it's not the church you grew up in, as an 18-year-old is an incredibly difficult task to do. So we started this thing a couple years ago called Wesley Mobile House, and we set up, it's kind of like a mobile version of our regular house, so coffee and donuts, and of course everything's still free, and we meet in a certain location, and we just give them a place to go and meet up with one another, and then to walk into church together. And some go to traditional and some go to the contemporary service, and they do that because it gives them that safe person, that buddy system. We're in the most connected we've ever been in all of human history, but yet people feel so alone and isolated. So that when you give people an opportunity to connect with others, life becomes just infinitely more easy. So that's one of our things that we've really done, which we've seen that, especially in our 11 o'clock services at the church. So
now when I think back to, as I hear you talk today and share this, I think back to what I hear Paul saying from time to time, reminding us of there's like 4 parts. You have to read the scriptures. You have to be part of a community of faith. You've got to experience the traditions, and just all 4 of those parts. And it sounds like you're connecting or doing your best to connect these college students to all 4 parts of that through study, through mission, through the experience in church, right? The community of faith being a part of that.
Yeah. We try to be really comprehensive with what we do, and our church is so vast with resources to be able to connect them in that. In fact, tonight, Night Owls is a respite program that our Belong Disability community does for those families, and we have a bunch of college students going to serve there and give up their Friday night and spend time with them. And I just think you're setting these people up for the rest of their life to care about others, to not just care about themselves, which is so counter to the way that our world generally operates. And I feel privileged that I just get to have just a little part of that.
No, I think that's right. I look back, and sometimes you have these reflections as a parent. Maybe I did something right. when my girls were in college, when my youngest daughter confessed her profession of faith to me, when I saw them volunteering at a senior citizen home, or my oldest daughter getting involved with suicide prevention, when I saw those things, it's like they do care about something bigger than themselves. And in this often selfish world, it's great to see those selfless characteristics come into life, especially in our youth.
Yeah. I have a couple of dear friends of mine who have gone through really difficult things. And one of the consistent things in both their stories is, as they started to realize that they were miserable, the thing that changed is they started caring for other people. They started serving. They started going back and saying, okay, what can I give to the world? How can I help people? And maybe it's just like handing out a bulletin on a Sunday, or maybe it's, serving in a respite program. Maybe it's, helping build a house on a Saturday. But whatever it is when you start thinking about others beyond yourself, I think that's when you start to be changed and you become the most effective in changing the world.
No, I think that's well said. Perfect. You mentioned a minute ago about this Friday night connection for getting the students involved. Are there broader opportunities through mission and things where you get a lot of the attendees at Wesley House and members of the church going on mission as college students?
Yeah, we used to try to do mission trips on our own, and what we actually found was they would never take off, because with our students who are all over the country, trying to then have them give up their spring break or something, we could never get it to take. And so we've just started connecting them to the incredible trips that the church is doing. And so now college students are connecting to those. Our hope is to with that as well is to integrate them into the life of the church. I mean, if we are just like youth group 2.0 and we're holding their hands the entire time for their 4 years or 6 years or however long it takes them to finish undergrad, then we're not actually preparing them for the rest of life. And so that's one of the ways that we're really working to help them to really branch out on their own and be, part of the body and fully functioning adults in the world. So
no, both of my girls were fortunate that we offered to them mission trips through the church and through the high school, and they've both been on multiple trips, and they want to keep going on them. So it's a great connection.
Yeah.
And I guess speaking of mission trips, you just got back from an amazing one, I believe, where you got to spend some time in Israel.
Yeah, I did a pilgrimage trip to Israel with the church. Got to help co-lead that trip with several of our pastors and staff at our church, and it was incredible. You've been, right?
I have. Yes.
It's Israel is one of those places that I think it's really important for people to go to from purely just an experiential standpoint. You can see a lot on the news about what's happening overseas, and you don't necessarily feel like you get the real story. And then you go there and you get to interact with individuals. You get to have conversations with people who may have differing views than you, but you can start to kind of see where they're coming from and what their life experience is. And then for me as a person of faith, walking in the footsteps of places that Jesus walked, to hear the stories and see them in their context, things that Jesus said that seem to make zero sense in our scriptures. When you're there in those places, suddenly you're like, oh, okay, this all makes sense now. How would I have known that, 2,000 years later in Dallas, Texas?
No, I think that's right. When I got the chance to walk through the Garden of Gethsemane or go up to Calvary or the Mount of Olives, both the historical and the biblical perspectives came to life for me. So yeah, I definitely want to go back.
Yeah, when we were, speaking of Garden of Gethsemane, we had the privilege and opportunity. There's the main kind of garden in the church where everyone goes, and then next to it's a separate garden. And we had gotten an opportunity to go just the separate garden and have a little service in there. So the day we're doing it, it's like 35, 40 degrees, pouring rain. And we're like, well, we reserved this. We should still do the service. So here we are in this. It's awful. I mean, we're freezing, like it's not good. People are like definitely going to get hypothermia. And we're sitting there in this miserable situation, remembering Jesus praying on the night that he was to be captured and betrayed and all of this. And it was like,
not so bad.
Not so bad.
Yeah.
Not so, it becomes like a good sobering reminder of how good I actually have it. So
yeah, you put it in perspective, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that. Were you able to get some of your college age students on this trip?
Not this trip.
Yeah.
It ran over the start of the school year and
Okay.
recruitment and stuff for fraternities and sororities. But my hope is down the road is we can really start to do a trip that helps get our college students there with us, because, if I had the opportunity as a college student to get to go to the Holy Land with my pastor and my church, like who knows what it would have done to my life and faith. And so my goal is to someday start to have that be a regular thing we get to do. But yeah, it was an incredible trip, an incredible opportunity.
Very cool. Well, I've loved, you're passionate. I can tell you love what you do.
Yeah.
As you think about wrapping up the podcast here in a couple of minutes, what would you have to share with parents, with college-age students? What do you see that you can share with our audience today that can make a difference as they're making choices or guiding their college or even younger children?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed, of course, I have young children myself, is it's not uncommon that I get people reach out to me right before their kid goes to college, and they're like, hey, can you meet with my kid to help prepare him for college? I'm thinking that was what the last 18 years were for.
Fair enough.
So I would encourage you, no matter how old your kids are, whether they're still in the womb or whether they're 17, start today, helping them to understand what it looks like to be a person that functions on their own, knows how to function in the world, both socially, academically, spiritually. You need to be a person that helps guide them in that. I mean, you are training them up in what it looks like to be a person of faith and a person that is a benefit to society. So start that now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when they leave your home and go to college, legally they are an adult. The college will treat them like an adult. It's a hard transition. I totally get it. but you also need to learn what it means to treat them as an adult.
Yes.
And that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's incredibly important. Obviously, you walk alongside them when they struggle. You don't say, well, deal with that, because you're their parent, and you would hope no matter what phase of life you're in, if you ever struggle, your parents will be there for you. But you got to learn how to just let them go and experience, because they're going to be better off because of it. And you're going to feel better about your investment. I mean, the whole thing is you're investing in them and hoping that they're going to go and do great things in the world. And it's a long-term investment. I mean, it's not a quick ROI. I mean, you're hoping that at some point, all the investment of bringing them to church, helping them to know what it means to serve, helping them know what it is to love others, knowing what it is to be responsible and ethical and moral and all these different things, that's going to play out down the road. And at some point, you got to step back and watch it happen.
Yep. Every day as I say my prayers, one of the components I always talk about is that God will reveal himself to show his love in amazing ways to my two girls, to take them one step closer to him each and every day. Because I hope that we position them. I hope that all parents position their kids to make that choice, because ultimately it is their choice which path they take, right? So I just ask that every day he reveal them to ways, show them the amazingness, the breadth of his love, and that they'll see it and want to draw closer.
Yeah, I heard somebody say one time that raising kids, hoping that they'll come to the faith, to know Jesus, it's like setting people up on a blind date. Like, you're doing everything trying to get them to like each other, talking each other up, and the hope is at some point they meet and they fall in love. And I think we just do our best as parents to try to do that for our children and see where it goes from there. And I think one of the things that that's so important, and we don't talk about it enough, and I find myself not doing this as much as I really want to at my core, is spending that time praying for our kids. Like, I can't tell you how many times college students' parents will come in for family weekend, and they'll come to me and they'll say, you have no idea the ministry that this church is doing is actually answered prayer. We prayed that they would find this, and they did. And over the last 30 days in Wesley, we've actually been doing a prayer and fasting thing for all the students in our ministry, and the stories that have come out of that, or students returning back to the ministry, to growing in their faith, to bringing others to faith, to inviting them, have changed us. So I am just a firm believer. Prayer changes things. So as a parent, pray for your kids. And if you don't have kids, or some college age person or somebody who's about to be college age, pray for them. Pray that they continue to know and grow and to find a community where they can grow in that faith together.
Somewhere he answered one of my prayers, because my youngest daughter's freshman year, she called me. I was traveling in Asia, I think it was in Hong Kong, and she wanted to talk. And of course I'm going to talk to you, right? And I got on the phone. What's going on? How are you? She goes, Dad, I've been saved by Jesus Christ. So my prayer answered. Her freshman year in college, she founded Church Connection right there on campus as well. So cool stuff. This has been, I am enlightened. I love what you're doing. I love what Sarah and you are both doing for the church, for the students, for the future of the church. Thanks for making time to be here. I know you're a busy man. Thanks for being here today.
I appreciate the opportunity. And if you know college age people, if you are a college age person, if you think you're a college age person, we can put you to another group or organization. But if you are 18 to 22-year-old and you're in the Dallas area, we would love to connect with you. We do worship services on Tuesday nights called The Table. We have family, united kind of small groups that students get together and grow in faith together. We connect people with host families that will help support them in this transitional time. So we want to be that support system for them. So if you know anybody, let us know.
We'll put this on the screen, but what's the best way to contact you or the church to someone wants to reach out?
You can find all of our information at hpmc.org, and you can just look up college ministry or Wesley House. That'll be the best way to get that. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Wesley House. If you go to @Wesley House, it's a great kid who plays baseball named Wesley House, but it's not us. Okay. So go to @the Wesley House.
I did not realize, I hadn't thought about, so I've now got a new Instagram, a new follower, so I'll be following soon. So.
All right. Well, cool. Looking forward. Well, I'm currently off of it for Lent. I'm off social media.
Good for you.
But I'll be back on it Easter. So
fantastic. Well, thanks again for being here.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm thrilled. You've been an amazing guest. So thank you as well. I hope today we revealed a conversation that shows you the power of the local church, the power of building a connection. So if you're a parent, I hope you take something away. If you're a college-age student, you now have a better perspective, I hope, of how to make a connection. I truly believe what Highland Park United Methodist Church is doing here is very much what many churches are doing around the globe. I believe that the hope of the future of our local communities, our state, and our world can be found in the local church. So if you have a gift, and that gift is one of service through the church, I challenge you to go find that gift, and I challenge you to share it with the world. Thanks. That's a wrap for episode 6. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.